The brutal rise and fall of Queen Jezebel. Part 1. The mystery unfolds. Beneath the flickering glow of a solitary candle, where shadows dance like ancient spirits across parchment-thin walls, we gather to confront a figure whose name echoes through millennia as a byword for wickedness. Her story, woven into the very fabric of Israel's tumultuous past, is one of ambition, idolatry, and a brutal, unyielding will that challenged the very essence of divine authority. How did a foreign princess ascend to such heights of power within the Promised Land? And what seismic forces ultimately led to her cataclysmic downfall? Tonight, we embark on a journey not merely through history, but into the depths of a soul consumed by power. A narrative that promises to unravel the chilling truths behind the brutal rise and fall of Queen Jezebel. Part 2. The Journey Through Darkness. A. The historical and cultural crucible, a kingdom divided. To truly grasp the malevolent force that was Jezebel, we must first immerse ourselves in the volatile landscape of the divided kingdom of Israel in the 9th century BCE. Following the glorious, yet often flawed, reigns of David and Solomon, the unified kingdom fractured into Judah in the south and Israel in the north. It was the northern kingdom, perpetually plagued by political instability and religious backsliding, that became the stage for Jezebel's infamous reign. The Deuteronomic covenant, which promised blessings for obedience to Yahweh and curses for idolatry, formed the bedrock of Israelite identity. Yet, time and again, kings and people alike strayed, seeking alliances and gods that offered more immediate, tangible benefits. This was the world into which Jezebel, daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Sidonians, arrived. Ethbaal himself was a priest of Baal, a detail that foreshadowed the religious conflict to come. Her marriage to King Ahab of Israel, a political alliance forged to strengthen economic and military ties with the powerful Phoenician city-states, was ostensibly a strategic move. However, it proved to be a Trojan horse, unleashing a wave of foreign religious practices that threatened to utterly dismantle Israel's unique covenant relationship with Yahweh. Ahab, described in 1 Kings 16:30 as doing more evil in the eyes of the Lord than any of those before him, was a willing, though perhaps unwitting, accomplice in his wife's zealous mission to establish Baal worship as the dominant religion of Israel. B. Decoding the Scripture, a trail of blood and blasphemy. The biblical narrative, primarily found in 1 Kings and 2 Kings, paints an unsparing portrait of Jezebel. From the moment she steps onto the stage, her actions are marked by an aggressive zeal for her pagan gods and an utter contempt for Yahweh and his prophets. Consider 1 Kings 18, where Jezebel's first major atrocity is recounted. Jezebel had slaughtered the Lord's prophets. This chilling detail immediately establishes her as an adversary of divine order. She wasn't content with mere tolerance of her religion. She actively sought the eradication of all who opposed her, particularly the prophets of Yahweh. The clash between Elijah, the lone prophet of Yahweh, and the 450 prophets of Baal and 400 prophets of Asherah, all supported by Jezebel's royal treasury, on Mount Carmel, 1 Kings 18:19-40, is one of the most dramatic confrontations in biblical history. It was a direct challenge to the supremacy of Yahweh, a contest orchestrated by Jezebel's pervasive influence and a testament to her widespread establishment of pagan worship. Yet, perhaps the most infamous demonstration of her ruthless ambition is found in the story of Naboth's vineyard, 1 Kings 21. When Ahab coveted Naboth's ancestral land but was refused, Jezebel mocked his weakness. "Are you not the king of Israel? Get up and eat. Cheer up, I'll get you the vineyard of Naboth, the Jezreelite." She then orchestrated a meticulous plot, using false witnesses to accuse Naboth of blasphemy and treason, leading to his unjust execution. This act not only demonstrated her cunning and cruelty, but also her utter disregard for Israelite law, which held ancestral land as inviolable. It highlighted her willingness to manipulate justice and shed innocent blood to satisfy royal desire, a profound violation of the very principles of the covenant. The scriptures consistently portray the driving force behind Ahab's apostasy. 1 Kings 21:25 states, "There was never anyone like Ahab, who sold himself to do evil in the eyes of the Lord, urged on by Jezebel his wife." The very language suggests a powerful, almost hypnotic influence, cementing her role as the primary antagonist in Israel's spiritual decline. C. The hidden theological meaning, the clash of kingdoms. Jezebel's story transcends a mere historical account. It is a profound theological drama, illustrating the enduring conflict between the one true God, Yahweh, and the seductive allure of idolatry. Her presence in Israel represents the ultimate test of the nation's commitment to the covenant. Baal worship, with its fertility rituals and perceived promise of agricultural abundance, offered a tangible gratification that contrasted sharply with Yahweh's often less immediate, yet ultimately more profound blessings. The theological significance lies in the battle for Israel's soul. Jezebel was not merely an individual queen. She embodied a spiritual principality, a force actively working to sever Israel's connection to its divine heritage. Her persecution of the prophets was an assault on the very voice of God in the land. Her promotion of Baal worship was an attempt to replace divine kingship with human autonomy, where the king, aided by pagan deities, held ultimate sway over nature and destiny. The narrative warns against the dangers of syncretism, the blending of true worship with pagan practices, demonstrating how easily a nation can drift from its core identity when influenced by powerful, ungodly forces from within its leadership. The story also speaks to the nature of divine justice. While Jezebel seemed to triumph for a season, her ultimate fate serves as a stark reminder that no human power, no matter how ruthless or influential, can ultimately thwart the divine will. The prophetic pronouncements against her were not empty threats but divine decrees, destined to be fulfilled. D. Controversies and theories. A queen beyond reproach? While the biblical account of Jezebel is largely monolithic in its condemnation, modern scholarship and feminist interpretations sometimes offer alternative perspectives. Some argue that Jezebel has been unfairly demonized by patriarchal scribes seeking to vilify a strong, foreign queen who challenged the established religious order. They suggest that her actions, viewed through a Phoenician lens, might have been seen as legitimate attempts to uphold her native religion and culture in a new land. From this viewpoint, her zeal for Baal could be seen as loyalty, and her ruthlessness as necessary political maneuvering in a cutthroat ancient world. The slaughter of the prophets, for instance, might be reinterpreted as a religious purge, common in many ancient Near Eastern cultures during shifts in power or belief systems. Her manipulation in the Naboth incident could be seen as an exercise of royal authority, albeit a harsh one, to acquire land deemed necessary for the crown, a practice not uncommon among ancient monarchs. However, even with these alternative readings, the weight of the biblical narrative, which consistently portrays her as a malevolent force, actively undermining the covenant with Yahweh, remains substantial. The core accusation against her is not merely that she was a foreign queen or a strong woman, but that she actively, aggressively, and violently promoted idolatry and injustice within a nation specifically called to worship the one true God. These debates serve to highlight the complexity of historical interpretation and the enduring power of her story to provoke discussion. E. The brutal fall, a prophecy fulfilled. Jezebel's reign of terror did not last indefinitely. The prophetic pronouncements, particularly those delivered by Elijah, foretold a gruesome end. In 2 Kings 9, we witness the dramatic fulfillment of these prophecies. Jehu, a military commander anointed by Elisha, Elijah's successor, to overthrow the Omride dynasty, arrives in Jezreel. Ahab is long dead, but Jezebel, now an old woman, still holds court. As Jehu approaches, Jezebel, ever defiant, paints her eyes and adorns her head, perhaps in a final act of regal pride or a desperate attempt to assert control. "Is it peace, Zimri, murderer of your master?" she challenges, comparing Jehu to a previous usurper. Jehu, however, is resolute. He calls to her eunuchs, asking, "Who is on my side?" "Who?" 2 or 3 eunuchs appear. "Throw her down," he commands. They comply, and Jezebel is hurled from the window, her blood splattering on the wall and horses. Jehu then rides over her body. The prophecy of Elijah, that dogs would devour Jezebel in the plot of ground at Jezreel, is fulfilled with horrifying precision. When her burial is ordered, only her skull, feet, and the palms of her hands remain, devoured by dogs, a visceral and brutal end to a life lived in defiance of divine law. The brutal